So the first cause must be spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal, all-knowing, and all-powerful, and the best descriptor of that is God.
All you're doing is defining God as the characteristics you need him to be.
Not at all, but I will clarify.
Let's define
God.
Let's start with the definition that should be used in debates about God's existence. God is the conscious agent that created literally everything. That's it. That is the most basic and necessary definition you would need in any God exists debate. If you are debating God's existence, this is the definition that you are debating. The second definition is considerably less formal and much more prevalent in pop culture. A being that has ultimate mastery in one or more aspects of creation. This definition is used, for example, God of Thunder or God of Mischief. And in a more recent example, we have the term God Gamer.
How's it going? God Gamer here.
Oh my god, I'm a god, let's go!
This is the use of the word that bugs me so much. I mean this whole definition, not just that last example. The big problem with this use of the word is that it cheapens the word. If you're a god under this definition, you're potentially fallible and mortal. Most gods, like Zeus or Thor, are only immortal in the sense that they won't die of old age, but they can still be killed against their will. And then the term God Gamer cheapens it even further. Now, instead of being able to shape the world, you're just really good at Hollow Knight. And this is what we see in pop culture. It has become increasingly popular over the years to portray as part of the hero's journey that the hero must overcome and defeat or kill a god or even the god of their universe. We can see examples of this everywhere, from Hollow Knight to God of War to One Piece to Fairy Tail to one of the most blatant examples, Xenoblade Chronicles.
So this is the arrogance of a creator. Using one's power to change the world. That is a right possessed only by gods. A god should not long for fresh air. That is a right for gods, and gods only! Why should we care? The power of a god cannot be overcome!
Zanza, this is the providence of the world. Even gods are merely beings restricted to limited power, determined by providence. That power, although great, is not unlimited.
Today, we use our power to fell a god, and then seize our destiny! All that I am is fading. The memory of a god's existence, born from the chaos of creation. It is vanishing. Whose voice was that?
It is Zanza, before he became a god, when he was simply a man of flesh and blood.
We are about to bear witness to the birth of a universe. Once, only a god could perform such a miracle. But today, mankind moves one step closer to the divine!
A new universe. Your world was born. And so, two gods came into existence. The old god was defeated by the new god that he himself created.
New god?
Yes. Therefore, I will ask you, its new god. What is your wish?
What we wish for is a world with no gods.
When talking in terms of power, as this definition does, it should be thought of as unattainable. It should be a wall that no character can even hope to overcome. And yet, so many people misuse it to imply that it can be attained. They could skirt the issue by saying godlike power, but it is a slippery slope from saying godlike power to just saying power of a god. Oh, and if anyone watching this also watches One Piece and wonders how that show has the heroes fighting God as opposed to just some false god or gods, that would be because One Piece is mostly using the last definition of God in order to fit into the God Slayer trope, an object given maximal authority by an individual. Or at least that was the definition until I started writing the script for this video, and I realized that trying to apply the label of God to any object, even when it's up to the individual who their God is, just doesn't work. I was planning on citing ancient civilizations' worship of graven images as a proof that even inanimate objects can be given authority. But when you really get down to it, it's not the wood carving that is given the authority, it's what the carving represents. When Israel was at Mount Sinai and they wanted to worship God, they made an image to represent him, because they wanted to see who they were worshiping.
How are you going to speak with a god you cannot see?
This might get complicated when talking about artificial intelligence, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. And for now, say that authority can only be given to conscious agents. If I give ultimate authority to a book, I'm not actually giving it to the book, I'm giving it to the author. So now it's a being given maximal authority by an individual. So this brings us to the question of what to do with this. Can we say, for example, that evolutionists worship Darwin or Dawkins? Well, maybe, sometimes, but I think most of the time the evolutionists are going to throw them under the bus in order to protect their religion. What about the belief in evolution, evolutionism, or maybe scientism? Can we say they're worshiping these ideas? Let's look at the definition of worship again. You know, from that video I can and you haven't actually seen.
Let's define.
Worship.
And use the definition of God rather than the word. Worship is an act of reverence and or devotion with the attitude of being directed toward a being given maximal authority by the worshipper. So there are two options. When person X claims that person Y is worshiping a concept or idea instead of a person or persons. Either person X is misusing the word worship because its definition requires the reference to be directed toward a being or conscious agent, or person Y is being irrational because they're treating an idea or concept as if it was a conscious agent. Of course, this all comes back to that all-important attitude. I cannot give a one-size-fits-all answer. I'm sure there are examples on both sides, and we just have to judge them as they come up. But I think it's safe to assume nobody worships themselves. Don't get me wrong, we all still act as our own god, but it would be very difficult and weirdly narcissistic to actually pay reverence to yourself. So the word God can be summarized in three distinct categories. First, an unequivocal ontology. Second is an unattainable power. And third is an unassailable authority. The first definition was probably the most practical purpose of this video, but my main reason for this video was the second definition. I was hoping that if there was a legitimate definition that pop culture could use, that I wouldn't be as annoyed by it and maybe find common ground on that point. Of course, that didn't work. They're completely misusing the word in order to satisfy their own pride.